So many people have been asking me where my review for Jurassic World is, and I tell them, wait, I can't just talk about that movie without talking about this one. Jurassic Park is directed by Steven Spielberg, written by David Koepp and Michael Crichton. It's based on the novel by Michael Crichton and stars Sam Neill, Laura Dern, Jeff Goldblum, and Richard Attenborough. And in Jurassic Park, Richard Attenborough plays this eccentric billionaire John Hammond whose company has figured out how to clone dinosaurs. And he's created this theme park that features dinosaurs, and he invites a few people onto the island to check it before it goes operational, to either give their green light that, it's all stable and whatnot, or to not give their green light and say that it's gonna fail. And of course, bad things start to happen. Now, as I'm sure a lot of you know, Jurassic World has just become like the movie with the biggest box office opening weekend of all time, and that really proved to me like how popular this original movie is. Like, I didn't think it was this like well loved, but apparently it is. And I rewatched it for this review, and it still really holds up. The visual effects are spectacular, the sound is incredible, and the direction from Steven Spielberg is just first class kind of stuff. Now, it's undeniable that Jurassic Park is a landmark in visual effects technology. It's almost cliche to say at this point, but when you watch this movie, the CGI still really does hold up extremely well even after 22 years. But for me, more impressive than the CGI are the animatronic models of the dinosaurs that they have. Like, for me, they are just flawless. The amount of detail on these animals' skin, the way they move and breathe and blink and whatnot, it really feels like Steven Spielberg cloned dinosaurs for this movie. They feel real. But for me, the reason why this movie's visuals are so good isn't just because they look real, but because they become essential in telling the story and creating a scary atmosphere. Jurassic Park is a really good argument for visual effects as a storytelling tool, and it's really used well here. The effects are never overused or shoved into our faces, which I guess you might think is a result of technical limitations in 1993, but for me, I prefer to see it as a deliberate storytelling choice. Like, if you look at how this movie is written and directed, these dinosaurs really are kind of kept away from the audience's eyes for a long time, and it really works because of that. And in terms of production design, I think it's really cool how the park itself is kind of bare, because most of it is really just like these natural, beautiful landscapes. The sets they filmed on really look great, and the structures of the park themselves are still being built, like they're still in construction, which is a nice touch because it really makes you feel like everything's just gonna fall apart. And I guess it's an effect of me watching a lot of modern day blockbusters, but for me, I was surprised rewatching this movie that some of these characters did get quite injured throughout the movie. The makeup effects to show these injuries are occasionally quite grisly, especially for non-R-rated movies such as this. And the cinematography from Dean Cundey is all around very well done. From these wide shots to really capture the majesty of these creatures, to some extremely well-lit nighttime, like claustrophobic sequences as well. And the sound design in Jurassic Park is spectacular. Everything here sounds perfect. From how the dinosaurs sound, like how the T-Rex roars, and how like the raptor's claws click on the floor, like that sounds fantastic. But also how this movie uses silence really well is really impressive to me, or just like small audio elements to really build suspense. It really, really worked well for me. And John Williams' score for this movie is legendary at this point. The main theme inspires just so much awe whenever you hear it, but I think people forget that the rest of the score, it really inspires a lot of terror as well. It's a really good suspense musical score. But what I like best is that they never let the music blare in this movie. It never gets distracting. They know which moments to underscore musically. Like I said, like the use of silences is really, really well done. And the editing by Michael Kahn is superb. It's almost unbelievable just how many tense moments are in the second half thanks to Kahn's sequencing of shots. He'll suggest little elements in certain shots that may spell incoming danger later on, and it really keeps you on edge. And it's really a credit to the pacing that the first half of this movie never actually slows down. And, even if some of these characters get separated throughout the movie, their different scenarios feel really kind of closely tied together. It's clear that the actions of one group affects the other. Now, it's interesting because the plot of Jurassic Park is actually quite relatively simple. The characters really aren't the deepest, but for me it's okay. It works for this kind of movie because it is a blockbuster. You don't need like a really deep explanation of every single character. For me, the information and the quirks behind each character are enough to really get me to care for them, to make them endearing, to make them memorable. You really do worry about their safety. And a lot of the dialogue in the movie really does delve into the film's different themes, such as playing God and achieving one's dreams, and surprisingly parenthood. And all these themes are weaved together like really surprisingly well. Sam Neill and Laura Dern make for some great leads in this movie, but they're not your typical Hollywood movie stars, which I really like. They're not action heroes. They're archaeologists and paleontologists, and despite this, they really give off a sense that these characters have long histories behind them, and the relationship feels tangible. They still manage to exude the sense of wonder that's really palpable throughout the movie. Everyone in this movie has a great sense of wonder. But for me, mostly Ariana Richards and Joseph Mazzello, who play Lex and Tim, who are these kids who are actually not annoying in this movie. They're actually really good actors. And Richard Attenborough has by far the most interesting character in this movie as John Hammond. He really is able to make this character really tragically complex. But if there's one character that stole the show in this movie, it's really Jeff Goldblum as Ian Malcolm, who continues to steal the show today because he's so weird and he has just so much personality. He's really a great kind of shot of adrenaline in this movie. And Steven Spielberg proves with this movie, I think, that blockbusters can be art as well. Because there are dinosaurs chasing people, there are people getting eaten, but there's a lot of beauty and intelligence to his shots as well. They're both entertaining, but really impressive on a technical level as well. It's really a credit to Steven Spielberg for managing to turn these animatronic and CGI dinosaurs into real characters that can be interacted with and can be connected with by the audience. And what's so great about Spielberg's directing here is that he has this sustained sense of fear throughout the movie, and this sense of wonder that for me is really the crown jewel of this entire thing. He's able to make these dinosaurs feel somewhat familiar, but just alien enough that you still have that sense of wonder, because I feel like if any other director tried to do this and made the dinosaurs feel like just slightly more alien, like you wouldn't be able to buy this premise, but you really do. As for flaws I have with the movie, I do have a couple. For one, whenever the script starts to go into like technical stuff, like technology and biology and whatever, like it gets really filled up with jargon that doesn't actually really make sense. I guess it would make sense if I thought about it, but the way it's delivered in the movie is really heavy-handed. And I really do think the movie just kind of ends too abruptly. Like, it just sort of ends. I kind of wanted a bit more of a resolution with these characters. But overall, while I do think that Jurassic Park is not quite the masterpiece a lot of people say it is, I do think it's still a great movie. I still love watching this movie, and it's definitely fun for everyone. Alright, so those are my thoughts on Jurassic Park. Have you guys seen it? What do you think about it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Whatever you thought, whether you agree with me or not, please leave me a comment. Let's have a conversation.